just based off the energy that I was getting from the screen, I'm like, oh no. But hey y'all, what's up? Welcome to the channel. I'm Sharon. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. So today, y'all, we are going to be reviewing Love is Blind Season 10, Episode 1. Before we get into the video, make sure you give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I will really appreciate that. Now let's get into it. Okay, so I did not bother to do the meet the cast or even really get into the full cast because most of the time we don't see these people anyway. I also barely watched the trailer because you know how they do with trailers. So watching episode 1 really is my first introduction to all of these people. And if we are honest, like the first episode of Love is Blind, at least like the first half of the episode, is usually very boring. But let's see. So this season takes place in Ohio in the house. Now I don't know nothing about Ohio, but the people was chanting OHIO, they love where they from. What I will say too is I feel like throughout the history of Love is Blind, the women are always so genuine and you could tell that they are there for the right reasons. Well, most of them anyway. But for the most part, the women are usually so genuine. They really want love. They are really trying to get into the experiment. You always kind of get that from the women. The men, not so much. Also too, I loved Emma's intro, and I didn't find out until later in the episode that Emma was in her 20s because I was like, wow, this season for the most part, the people are in their mid to late 30s, which I feel like is different for Love is Blind. A lot of the times, like they get people in their 20s, early or late. If I'm not mistaken, Emma might be one of the only 20 somethings. But now the pods are open and they start their pod dates. And I'm not gonna lie, like I really, for real, like I said, I don't really get too invested in like the initial pod dates because most of the time we don't even see these people no more. But I did notice that Kevin said he meets women at Target.
Child. Anyway, so
far there are really no interesting pod dates happening, at least to me anyway. But we did see though in Bree and Chris's pod date that she said her friends call her Breezy, and I was just like, huh. I feel like when we get our first kind of like vibey pod date where you kind of can sense that the people are connecting is with Bree and Connor. I feel like they seemed to really hit it off and love that for them. Then we see Connor and Emma have a pod date. And what's up with him and all of these stars? Like he is really big on the star rankings. And also too the low-key proposals. Because he kind of low-key proposed to Bree, and then he kind of low-key proposed to Emma. Like you can't just be throwing that all out there willy-nilly. Okay, so then we get Emma and Steven having a pod date, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting a weird vibe from Steven. Like I am not getting authenticity from Steven at all. Now, it's too soon to tell and to make a full judgment, but it just was something weird going on in their pod date, energy-wise, coming from him. But then we see them go back to their quarters, the women to the women quarters, the men to the men quarters. They discuss their pod dates and everything like that. And then it's the next day, and this is where we get introduced to Tyler, and Tyler is hilarious, okay? So far, I'm really liking Tyler's personality and her energy. And then we see Kia and Kevin have a pod date and they kind of vibe. For real, I'm really only paying attention to the people where it kind of seems like something may be forming, like a connection or something may be brewing. So Kia and Kevin really seemed like they were vibing in their pod date. And we see Kevin and Tyler have a pod date. And I feel like what they've been doing is like they'll show us a pod date with, let's say, Bree and Connor, and then they'll show us a pod date with Connor and Emma, then they'll show us a pod date with Emma and such and such. You get what I'm saying? I like how they doing that. So we saw Kevin and Kia have a pod date, and then now we see Kevin and Tyler have a pod date, and he is very excited to talk to our girl. Like he's geek, and I love that for her, because like as he should be, right? During Kevin and Tyler's pod date, she basically is like, yeah, I worked real hard to get where I am professionally. I put in the work, okay, boots on the ground. I finally made it to a top level position, but I'm willing to give all that up as soon as you tell me to. And I just was like, oh, sister, don't do that. To work so hard all your life to get to where you are, to just throw it by the wayside for a man. I mean, no shade to the men, but shade to the men. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's wise. But Alex and Ashley have a pod date, and I guess they vibe. Oh my gosh. And then we see Emma and Mike have their pod date, and Mike is really into Emma, okay? He likes her a lot, and Mike seems like a pretty decent dude. Again, it's too soon to tell. For real, this is only episode 1, but he seems like a cool dude, and he is really into Emma. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I was picking up the vibes that Emma wasn't really checking for him for real. Like, she was going to keep him in the rotation because, you know, he's into her and he seems like a decent dude, but I don't really feel like she was really feeling him. And then it confirmed for me when she called that man buddy. Yeah, she did that. She called that man buddy. I was like, uh-oh. Then we see Vic and Christine have a date, and they really hit it off. Like, they were vibing, and I loved so much when he read to her what he had wrote about her. And it's nothing like when somebody really sees you. Again, I know they keep saying like, I see you, even though I haven't seen you. But when somebody can pick up on certain personality traits or certain things that you do, that signifies that they are really paying attention to you and intently listening and so on and so forth. So I loved when he read back what he had wrote down about her. I thought that was so nice. Okay, so now we see Emma and Steven having a pod date. And like I said, remember earlier when I said I was getting a weird vibe from Steven, it was confirmed in this date. Like, and I also felt like because I knew she was gonna, it was kind of feeling like that she was gonna reveal to him that she was adopted, because Emma was adopted, and up until this point she was holding that close to the chest because that's personal. I mean, you know, I understand, and that's sensitive information. You don't necessarily want to tell anybody and everybody, so I understand why she was holding it close to the chest, but I felt like she was gearing up to tell him, and I was thinking, please don't share that with this man. Like, this is not the man that you should share that with, just based off the energy that I was getting from the screen. I'm like, oh no, but she did. And I feel like when she did share with him that she was adopted, I felt like she immediately regretted it. You could tell, and it just was like, yikes. He, like, wrong person. He does not seem like he has the emotional intelligence or maturity to get into stuff like that, because we saw in their earlier dates that she was basically like, can I go deep with you? I don't know if I can. And so that's why I was kind of confused as to why she chose to share that with him, when, as far as we've been able to see, they have not really been able to go deep. And maybe this was her attempt to go deep with him, but I just felt like he was the wrong person to share it with. I also had wrote down in my notes that he does not know how to let the silence be there when it needs to and let it just naturally go away. Like, it seems like when she is taking a pause to gather her thoughts, he gotta like throw something in there. Later on in the date, she says that, like, the interrupting, like, she makes mention of him interrupting her. And just overall, she was like, this ain't it. And I was just like, yeah. But I also feel like after that, Emma kind of started to spiral. And I feel like it's because she released such sensitive information to somebody in an unsafe environment. You get what I'm saying? So I feel like she started becoming undone a little bit. Just was I could tell that she just was becoming undone after that. And I really feel like it's because she felt so unsafe. She had just revealed something so personal, and then it was to the wrong person, and now she kind of low-key losing it. And then we see Vic and Christine have a date, and I literally wrote down in my notes, like, is he about to propose? And yes, he was about to propose. And then they play us like a montage of all of their pod dates, and he proposes and she says yes. They also prayed together, which I thought was really cute and really nice. That's the end of episode 1. The trailer for episode 2 looks a little questionable. Like, what's going on? We see some ambulance lights. Like, what's tea? Yeah, let me know down in the comments what you thought of this episode. Give the video a thumbs up like I already said. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, and I will catch you in the next video for episode 2. Bye.